Today, Green Gauge Mutant Ninja Blurtles. I was like,
Practice that.
Green Gauge Newton. Green Gauge Newton.
Ninja Nerdles?
Ninja Nerdles?
Yeah.
I don't know. Green Gauge Newton. Ninja Nerdles. Heroes in a shell.
I love that somebody pointed out in the comments that $15 turtle costume. Actually,
$15 turtle costume.
That was pretty cool.
I was like, man, that is a missed opportunity on my part. Oh well.
$15 turtle costume.
It's late at night when you write things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, where we talk about video game news sometimes. Hopefully this in the intro sounds okay. I don't know. Tried a different microphone. It should be approximately the same quality in terms of microphone, so it probably won't make that much difference. But here it is.
Yeah, we'll check the recording later anyway because we don't trust your opinions. But
Yeah.
we ask anyhow.
We pretend that we care about your opinion. There's some room tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Haven't hung the foam yet.
yeah. There's also there's
probably
also like
supposed to
AC
do
on that shouldn't need to be on in here that we need to figure out. But anyway, welcome to ChillPoint show where we talk about the video game news, the week's video game news, and also we talk about the episode of ChillPoint that went up this week, and yeah, so. This was sadly this was the Ian's last episode of this little thing where he's been doing a wonderful job filling in for Grandma Kathleen being away first in Barcelona and then
Wherever
other
they
places
Yeah.
Yeah,
places unknown.
it's the last time you'll see him.
But
Ever again. Once the checkpoint host, once you leave, you don't go any other place.
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it goes.
That's why Beach hasn't left
We
yet.
have terrible non-compete agreements here.
I saw somebody in the chat in the comments call it I've enjoyed the Bijanian age.
Yeah.
The
Bijanian.
Bijanian. I like that. The Bijanian age. Yeah. But yeah, Ian did a wonderful job, and I like his. He had some very fun takes on some of the stories, and it's always wonderful to get like a different a different kind of angle on stuff sometimes.
Oh,
I also like the fact that he refuses to dress in the executive gamer.
The t-shirt and sport coat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Shows
like,
up in
no,
the tie.
shirt and tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because he would be dressing down.
Yeah.
To do which instead of the opposite. Yeah.
People would find it probably really distressing if Ian showed up in like a t-shirt at the moon base, I'm sure. I mean, I found it distressing sometimes when he shows up. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we're lifting things today. That's why you're in a t-shirt. Yeah, makes sense.
And Ian also did some great work with just the alliteration and doing a lot of causing himself a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I think because of course Ian's been in tons and tons of stuff that we've done and in all sorts of things, but he hasn't done a ton of work reading off the teleprompter.
Oh yeah.
And that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so you write stuff and you're like, oh crap, I wrote that, now I have to say it. Yeah. Which is a frequent.
It's a rule. It's a rule around here. Often,
It's
if
hard.
you have to say something really difficult, chances are you wrote it yourself.
I mean,
Yeah.
like even when it's late at night, what I do try to do is whenever I've written a story, it's like read it 2 or 3 times out loud, because inevitably I run into something where I'm like, I've either forgotten a word because I thought I typed it out, or I'm reading out stuff and I'm like, that's gonna sound weird. And we had that happen actually. One of the stories I wrote. It was the Larian Studios one. It was the specific part where we're talking about how the language teams did not get fully credited.
Right.
And there's a point where I said, instead choosing to send the top brass's names instead. And I put instead twice in the same phrase, didn't realize I did it. We did a read through, didn't realize I did it.
You ran through that story almost 4 times.
I did 3 goddamn takes of it live, and then realized on the 3rd take when I had screwed up something else, I'm like, I put instead twice.
Instead. And it's one of those things where sometimes, like, you won't notice that it's wrong, but as you're reading it on the prompter, you'll be like, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
There's like my favorite weird thing that has occurred in a checkpoint where you don't know it's happened is there's an after show in one of the older episodes where Graham says something and he swears, but that's also when there was a weird recording hiccup that nobody would have caught because you don't see it until editing, and it hits just in the middle of a swear, so it looks like we tried to like edit out the swear, and we never do that. At least unless it's a crap shot about that or something. But so it just kind of looked like there was like this weird like audio edit that we'd put in.
The tech activated our automatic swear button. All right, so yeah, let's talk about the stories, starting with talking about Acid Wizard, which is a great name.
It's a really I've never heard of that studio name, and I feel like I wish I had.
And if you
like earlier,
I was showing their logo on in the corner, and their logo is clearly like the it's not like 2 fun names. Like, it's a wizard that casts acid spells. From the logo and everything, it's clearly a wizard on acid.
It kind of feels like the kind of logo or artwork you would expect to maybe see outside of a weed store, like on the sidewall, at least around here.
Right. Which actually, does thing, is talking about things that you could just walk out of. Social things, movies, home, class, clothes shopping, 2 fancy weed stores. And so for that, I did I was searching for a picture of a fancy weed store, and came across like this article that was like the top 12 fanciest weed stores. And to be honest, the one that I chose wasn't the fanciest, because a lot of them just looked like jewelry stores. Like, there was no indication at all that they were weed stores.
I could see it. I honestly, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, the one I used was barely, but like, yeah, either like high-end jewelry stores, or there's a lot of ones that look like Apple stores, like lots of white and like clear,
birch,
and yeah, the birch stuff.
I mean, it's a good aesthetic, right? And it actually it feels clean and inviting when you walk into it. So
I certainly appreciate over the aesthetic that we had like 10 years ago, which was just like
black posters
or just like kind of a weird like hole in the wall place. Like you would just like go there. There's always just like there's like a counter like just in the door, and that's it.
Yeah, you walk in
like
just
hidden
2 steps, and then everything behind them is just behind curtains. The walls have been all painted this weird teal color.
You got bead curtains.
Yeah, there's bead curtains.
It's like
curtains seem so cool when you're like 6.
And yeah, and of course, we've mentioned before, but back in the day in Moonbase Mark III, was at a period in Victoria's municipal legislation where there were certain allowances for dispensaries, but it was still pretty gray area. But the area that Moonbase Mark III was in, they seemed to basically not care too much, and there were like 5 dispensaries within like a 3-block radius.
Yeah.
And
some of them with ever-changing names.
well, yeah, and that was what was great, is that you couldn't really say like cannabis dispensary on the name or whatever, right? And so there'd be more and more obscure names. My favorite was ocean grown medicinal thing. It took me a long time to realize that it was even or by the other one that I really liked was the which would be a great name for a British Columbia based tag team wrestling group, which was the BC Pain Connection.
That's good. Not a great tag team wrestling name, but a good tag team wrestling name.
That sounds like a group who's like, we want to make Fight Club, but we can't call it Fight Club. What do we want to call it? I don't know, the Pain Connection?
Anyway. So, yeah, that was fun. And, talking about... Darkwood is a game that I remember like seeing some stuff about it. It's sort of a top-down survival horror thing.
All right.
And it's one of these things where like during the day you build up your defenses and then all the bad guys come at night and you try to...
Oh, okay, yeah.
lots of like stuff
Yeah.
it's sort of top-down and but like there's like your like viewing angle and your lights and lighting and stuff. Alex Pedro and Let's Know back in the day, and did very well. But yeah, Acid Wizard seems like they had when the game first came out. As soon as the game came out, they took a year off.
Okay.
They were like, we worked. We crunched really hard on this game.
We made some good sales.
We are, it's been successful. We're gonna take a year. We're just gonna take a year off. And then they came back and they did some more updates on it, and they started working on this other game, Soccer Kids, which just came out for alpha a few months ago. And then they're now disbanding again. I mean, when we say the company disbanded stuff, I think the company is like 5 people, so it's not like a huge thing.
And it's not like they're going to give up their studio name or anything. They just, from the sounds of it, they can't financially or responsibly just work on a video game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they say that the balancing of the their family and all this kind of stuff, which is entirely legitimate, but I do kind of like their line of we'll possibly return in 5 to 10 years when we get our shit together, which I don't know. I feel like they're probably not gonna.
Yeah, maybe not.
If you have to wait until you get your shit together before you're coming back, you're never coming back.
I do have to wonder, like, it's like, because that is a long time. Like, I've been, we've been here for over 10 years, like me, right? So it's like, I've been here for over 10 years. I'm like, man, taking that time off from my one career to go do something else, and then turn around, like, after doing that for a while and be like, actually, you know what, I'm going to come back and do this again. It's like, yeah, that seems... Yeah, I guess you could do it.
I mean, yeah, but when you're making that initial plan, you're not necessarily like looking at saying goodbye to a thing forever, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously they want to keep their options open, but anyway, so wish them well and stuff. It's it's sort of, I guess the fact that this seems so strange is by itself kind of a thing, like the idea, and this has happened like a few times in the video game world where, companies have just shut down.
Yes.
Because the people making, not because they failed as a company, but because... Or that they've like sold out or whatever, but just because the people have done what they wanted to do, or they decided that it's not, they're not enjoying it anymore or whatever. I forget.
Usually to smaller studios.
Yeah, I forget who was the guy who made like Opus Magnum and those kind of puzzle games.
I wouldn't know.
Don't know that one.
Did a thing a little while ago where he did sort of a similar thing where they released a game called Last Call BBS, which was kind of super neat. It was like a emulated old computer, Zachtronics.
Oh, okay.
It was like this like emulated old computer that had a bunch of mini games on it, and also it was the sort of farewell to the community and being like,
Okay.
I don't want to do this anymore. So, which is cool. So, wish them well, and there it is. Devolver Digital has delayed a bunch of their games, sadly, but in true Devolver fashion, they were able to get the silver lining and announce the delays in an exciting way.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best Devolver Digital things I've seen, and I only say that because I know the other stuff I've seen, which has definitely had like a lot of production, and stuff is sometimes comedy that doesn't land well for me, but it also sometimes for me is just like, it feels like it drags because I just kind of want to see the announcements at some point.
Yeah, having it only 3 minutes is quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, you know, it also serves as I saw lots of people in the comments this being like, oh man, like those games look cool.
Yeah, they
I'm
do.
excited, and they didn't delay all their games. There's a bunch of games that are still coming out in 2023.
Yeah.
Talos Principle 2, I'm actually kind of stoked about.
Yeah.
Some other games like that are coming out in 2023, and then the ones coming out in 2024 also look super cool. So,
But it's more it's the format of it, and the really how, you know, we use the term pitch perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like they did nail it. Like for all the like I watch a Nintendo Direct and I have a good time because it's exciting to see what's going to come out. Even the indie ones where it's like I don't know what any of these games are going to be, and I'm not that excited about most of the indie stuff that comes out. It's like I'm interested to see what they think is important enough that they want to highlight on their channel in their production thing. That's great. And the little complaints that I've had about, man, you know, like the jokes aren't that good. And,
Yeah, so I do want to be a little nitpicky on your thing. You call it a Nintendo Direct, and the visual style is very Nintendo Direct.
Yes.
But the thing with the voiceovers that
Is
you're
Indie
hearing
World.
is much more Indie World.
Fair.
Because Indie World's the one that like shows you the ad, then talks about it, and then has the intro transition jokes with two people who are voicing in that very high peppered whatever kind of way. Nintendo Direct doesn't usually do that. They're a little bit more, a dev shows up, maybe here, a Japanese executive shows up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's really the...
Also, I believe the voiceovers for the Indie Direct stuff are usually people from Treehouse.
Yeah.
And I know
The chances are good it's not
I
going
know
to
that
be...
that line is a joke about
Great.
how I hope they're like related or they're the same people or whatever. But
It would be shocking to me if they actually did get the same people. But yeah.
I bet most voice actors have a like peppy voiceover voice.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, my understanding
repertoire.
from what I've heard is their friends and family who hear them do those voiceovers don't recognize them as the same people because the voice just sounds so different.
But
So
it's like it's funny to me, right? Because it's like that would be if we could do that as a crap shot, right? Like what they did.
Directing. Yeah.
Right. It's like
Sure.
we could do a 60-second thing that basically just breaks down. Here's what's really funny about these things, and here's how you could apply it to whatever. The trouble is, it's like sure that's great, but it lands even better when you're doing it for real. Like
Yeah,
the fact
yeah.
that Devolver's like, we're making fun of this, but we're doing it for a real purpose to tell you that this stuff has been delayed, and how, because obviously the the juxtaposition between it's like, we're really happy to tell you about the fact that these things will be sliding into 2024, and it's like that the terminology, like they're basically using the same words that you'll hear during the indie worlds, and like to hear all the same kind of back and forth, and then to hear it like fall apart over time, that it's like, you know, and then somebody curses and it's kind of like, yeah, you nailed it. Like
they do the pep voice, but they do it like slightly turned up more, so you get the sarcasm.
Yeah, but at no point do they actually like. There's nothing about them winking at the camera and saying, "Look at what we're doing."
No,
everything is played completely straight, which is what heightens it, I think. And I love that the overall like the effect of it is. You want to keep watching more of it, because if you have watched a Nintendo Direct, or if you've watched like any of the Indie World presentations, and you know how formulaic they are by this point, that it's like, right, I want to see how you twist the formula over and over. And the fact that they only do it for 3 minutes is so great, because it's like, right, you know you can't overstay your welcome on this.
Yeah,
because it will get tiring.
Format-wise as well, they are allowed to go faster, because every single game that they're pulling up is a game that's been announced already.
Yeah.
So people presumably know about it, or if they want to know about it, there's more information. A lot of indie worlds, that's the first time that game's being talked about.
Absolutely.
This is why their stuff has to go on longer, because they have to explain the game.
Yeah,
because they're trying to get people interested.
There is that slight disappointment on my part that I'm like, man, if only we had thought of doing something like this first. But also the fact that it's like, but it's better that they did it, because it really, as a video game publisher, it's great coming from a publisher that's kind of like. What would we have made fun of, right?
They definitely get an extra. Like, I feel like we'd have to be making fun. We'd either have to be doing it as our own announcement thing, or we'd have to be making fun of something else that's being announced.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of things not being announced, or being announced strangely, Netflix has their games thing as part of their Netflix subscription, their mobile games thing, which I'll pause briefly while everyone goes, "Oh yeah." Because usually, like, every time we mention that Netflix has games on their thing, people are like, "What, really? Oh."
Well, I mean, when they started, it was very much like, nobody's going to care about the games that they're using, and now they're essentially like grabbing games that already kind of exist, right? They're
I think they're
games from other devs.
I have a few on my phone, in fact.
But I mean, they're really solid. You know, they're solid games. You know, Spiritfarer and
Terra Nil, which we played on
Terra Nil,
Talking Sim. Shatter, which is a Arkanoid type thing, and then of course I have the Solitaire. That's by what company? It is by Mobilityware. Their Solitaire is actually pretty good.
So the idea of those games being playable on your TV is, you know, fairly interesting to me, and so I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. And so they brought up this app that's a controller, a like super minimalist controller, assuming it worked. But the problem is it doesn't work, or at least it doesn't actually.
There's nothing for it to connect to.
The other half of the connection hasn't been developed yet, or hasn't been released yet.
There are no games there.
I have to ask, Paul. There was an image. There was a shoulder graphic of a controller layout that looked awful to me. Was
Big
that,
A button and the 3 buttons around
that,
it. Yeah.
That's what they want to do.
Yep, that is the real controller that you get.
Hey, Netflix, can I just plug in my own controllers?
See, that's the thing.
I have many controllers from many different formats already that I like.
But what would you plug it into?
I don't. The internet.
Where do you plug it into the TV is the problem.
So
I don't care.
Like, Apple does allow you to pair a Bluetooth controller with your phone. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, you could go from like your phone to the app, and then the app to Netflix, I guess.
But like but if you want, a lot of people have Netflix on their TVs, and that's it. And so therein lies.
Do not most TVs have Bluetooth now?
Yeah, but they have Bluetooth for audio. Like, I don't think they have a full Bluetooth stack set up that you can just connect whatever you want via Bluetooth.
Oh, then the future is dumb.
Because if you could, then you'd have
it
Bluetooth.
is.
Yeah.
You'd have Bluetooth remotes at that point, and people are like, we don't even have to do RF anymore. It's just everything's all Bluetooth.
And I mean, there's some like Apple TVs can pair a controller.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so this is a weird kind of non-story in the sense that we don't know what this actual TV game Netflix will look like.
Yeah.
And how it will function, because apparently you're like controlling it on your phone, and so that it's doing kind of a cloud thing where it's like sending your controller stuff back to the Netflix servers, presumably. But it's sort of
a different key layout.
But it's sort of a weird non-story because it hasn't set up. And as some people pointed out, I saw in the comments to one of the articles I saw about this, it's interesting because Apple has been actually fairly down on people submitting like do nothing apps.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Which this at the moment is.
It doesn't do anything. Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what that
Or we won't.
what it turns into. Maybe it'll turn into nothing.
Well,
Maybe like it seems weird that it like I guess they like put it in early to the approval thing to make sure it got approved in time or something.
Well, maybe, but like that's the thing. If it's the reasoning I think that was written down for it not working is that the games thing is in beta, so not everything works essentially, right? And beta doesn't mean thing will definitely come out later. Beta sometimes means we tried it didn't make enough money, so we threw it away. Especially when it comes to companies like Netflix.
But beta is usually like a beta test. And like now, like it's not even being like tested now. It's sort of out there in the public.
Sure.
But nothing to like. It seems like if there's no actual stuff to use it with.
Yeah.
That's more like it's like an internal app that they just have.
And then that would just
by
be test
mistake.
flight.
They just by mistake release.
Yeah, you would just put that in test flight and be like, so we have an internal thing, we have 100 people at Netflix who are testing this with their TVs or some shit, so we can do it all internally, and then somebody was instead like, let's just publish this, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, but there are like so many features on YouTube that I've seen that were in beta that they end up canceling.
Yeah.
So I
that
just
too.
don't like when I look at Netflix, even though they're like, oh well, we made an app. I'm like, well, somebody made an app for you probably.
Then
and
again,
it was ready, but
the-
I don't really.
The flip side of that is that there's a ton. Google makes a ton of things that never leave beta.
Yeah, there's that too, which means this could just be an app that exists and never goes anywhere.
The Johnny Glitched apps. If I need a phone to play it, why not just play it on my phone?
Well, the point is that it's better to play stuff on TV sometimes.
As an example, I have Castlevania Symphony of the Night on my phone. Because it's the first console I've ever owned that I could actually get Symphony of the Night for.
Wow, you just called a phone a console, and I felt weird about it.
But there we go. And so, because I can pair a Bluetooth controller with my phone, and because I can cast my phone through my Apple TV to my TV, that is how I tried playing Symphony of the Night. And I played for about 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, this works. I can do this if I want to. I don't want to do it right now. But what I definitely don't want to do is try to play it on my phone.
Yeah, I have something I have learned about myself, I guess, is that for all the phones and tablets are powerful enough now and fully capable of rendering all sorts of fancy 3D graphics and first-person shooters and all this. Lots of people play Fortnite on their phones.
Yep.
But that's just not a way that I like to interact with my phone. I like the games that I play on my phone tend to be just very simple sort of touch-based things.
Absolutely.
And things that are on screen, like the on-screen like virtual controllers. I just can't stand.
Well, the good news is every single one of the games that are worth playing on Netflix are available on other platforms.
It's true.
And I believe you have Game Pass, so you're pretty well set.
I mean, I've played most of the ones that I'm super interested in on other places, but it is that thing of like you sort of go, oh hey, that's super cool, I can like play it while I'm like relaxing in bed, and then you're sort of like, Yeah. This is not actually fun.
Not relaxing, is it? Not relaxing at all.
Speaking of relaxing,
Yes.
Relaxed fit, maybe.
You did some patch notes.
Let's do so. On Baldur's Gate 3 came out. Apparently, it's very, very good.
That's what I've heard. Actually, I've heard a lot of people very much having a lot of fun with it.
It apparently I saw an article just today. It is at 97 on Metacritic, beating out Tears of the Kingdom, which is at 96 on Metacritic.
It's out on like PC and stuff right now, right? And it's like PlayStation 5's coming soon,
Yes.
I think, and it's like console exclusive there for at least a while.
Yes.
Is what I
Although
believe.
technically, I think it's not actually console exclusive to PlayStation 5. It just they're having trouble getting it to work on the Xbox.
All right.
Well, I mean, okay.
I don't think it was actually like a Sony paid them to do it thing.
Yeah.
I think it was more that they just I don't know, they were talking about like the split screen multiplayer they're having trouble getting to work on the Xbox.
Well, then we might actually have like an actual Game of the Year fight
Yeah.
come December then.
But of course, fun patch notes.
The focus has been.
This is one of those stories where if ChillPoint was like a more, shall we say, prominent, influential news source.
Sure, yes.
I would say that they were putting this in just to get us to talk. Like,
Yes.
This is like, it's like, do we have to, it's like, this is, it's like right there. We kind of got like, people will be mad if we don't talk about it.
I feel like I need to write down like the goal that we need to be influential enough
So
for this.
There's there have been several stories, obviously, like Kotaku and all sorts of people have done stories on the fact that, hey, did you know that when this game comes out, like, so this is pre the game, it's like when this game comes out, we'll be able to choose our junk.
Yeah.
Like, it was like that was a thing that was a big deal because it's like and the interviews are all about we want to up the representation, and we're like, the reason we want to do that is because we were like, well, we want to let people choose underwear.
And then that went along with the like romancing the bear.
Yeah, exactly. Because they kind of got to a point where it's like, well, if you can choose your choose your underwear, and because that's important, it's like, what do we do then if we have somebody take off their underwear? Because we thought it'd be like, this should be a part of your outfit, right? You're going to choose what ones you're going to wear. Maybe they're enchanted, like that kind of idea. That'll be fun. But it's like, but then what happens if somebody wants to take off their underwear? It's like, do we just have other underwear underneath? And like, or just Ken doll this stuff, or it's like, oh, actually, why couldn't we let them choose their genitals? Because that's also part of a personal expression. And then that became a thing of like, well, if we're going to do that, then let's actually make it a thing. And it's, I think it's really cool that they decided we'll lean into this and actually make this, part of that.
So somebody mentioned that apparently there was also a problem with this in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, so like it's just skin clipping through.
Yeah, it's just
like that happens in other places that are not.
Yeah, it's just more funny because it's there.
It is weird that, though, as I think we were talking about this before the show, that we're like, why is it that when you have somebody who's fully dressed, then
why is it even rendering that part of them?
Exactly, and it's like, I guess because if you're making it like if it's an interchangeable piece, it's like, and it has to render that piece, but it's like the clothing mesh doesn't automatically occlude it, then why are you rendering that as well? Does that mean that you're rendering an entire nude body and having to render clothes on top of the nude body? Normally you'd just be like, we know the rough shape of it, we know how the clothing's supposed to fall. I'm not really sure how clothing mesh rendering works.
I think clothing has different rules on it, for one, depending on the thing.
It's
like when we played Mozart Requiem, there was a character his chest kept clipping through his shirt while he walked.
Ooh.
Like,
It's,
and there was like another dude whose like his pants because he'd fallen over his pants when clipping through his long coat in a really weird way, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's just kind of the standard problem, right?
So yeah, we have this thing of penises C and D no longer clip through some Githyanki clothing, and just the idea that it's like, right, you have an appendage that that is an additional thing that you wouldn't have to render in other video games, and it's always fine to talk about dicks, and so I mean, let's be frank, Larian knows that. Like, Larian knows that it's fun to do this, so let's just talk about this. This will get us lots of hype. People will want to play the game, or they'll at least want to see the things. There'll be lots of, like, mind share.
And, yeah. And I also like the other note of that male gnome sorcerers are no longer missing their undies. I was hoping that just meant that they changed it so that they don't miss their undies anymore.
Yeah,
that they're perfectly happy.
When they used to be like, I'm so sad I don't have my undies anymore.
Personally, that just made me think of Stardew Valley, because there's like this little side quest thing you can do where you have to go find the mayor's underwear, and I was just like, wait, did somebody go find their underwear?
See, yeah, make it a quest chain.
Yeah.
Male gnome sorcerers. It's why only male gnome sorcerers?
Yeah, what
why
about
that
combination?
You know that if this was like Discworld, it would be like the wizards have all lost their underwear. What shenanigans did someone try to pull?
Right.
Like, who did what? Who on this disc?
Yeah.
Somebody has been messing around with stuff and took all the underwear by accident.
Somebody in Unseen University made a spell and they poofed them all away, and now nobody knows where they've gone. And
yeah.
I've seen that happen like occasionally, and it is quite fun for when companies do their patch notes, like in universe. Like, oh, this guy was being annoying, so we added, whatever.
It's and of course, not to act as a distraction. Obviously, this is a very fun thing. And then hey, Larian doesn't have complete credits for a lot of things in the game.
Was part of the same story.
And for the people to claim that it's like for them to be like, hey, the Brazilian Portuguese localization, which apparently is very good. Like people have been like, it is a top-notch localization. The Altagram group did not provide the full list of all the localizers who worked on it. They just gave them a very truncated list that included just people who run the company. And now Larian's like, no, we've gone back to them and they have to provide a whole thing. And they're like, okay, you're making a very strong stance here, being like, no, they owe us a full list of everybody who worked on the thing. And it's like, right. So what about everybody else in your list that haven't actually provided full breakdowns of who worked on this game?
And we talked about this a few weeks ago with the I forget who it was, but there's some industry group that was putting out a sort of best practices document about crediting stuff. And this is one of those things where often these subcontractors do just either get the name of the company or just the couple of headline people. But hopefully we're going to be moving more and more into having their full credits. The speed and extent that Larian threw the other team under the bus.
It was amazing.
I was a little surprised at. Like, I thought they would be like, oh, this is, there's a miscommunication here. We're going to get it sorted out.
We're
no problem.
Correcting that.
They were like,
update that.
this is 100% their fault.
Yep.
We're talking to them and we are demanding that they fix it.
Yeah. Well, the article does say Larian demanded they provide a list, and then they show an actual quote, which does not have the word demand in there anyway, but it is Larian saying, this is on them, this isn't us. We've told them to provide us with a new list. And it's like, okay, so writing, they've demanded a thing is like, that's maybe taking a little harsher of a stance, but still the thing where they're like, it's 100% on them that we went with the list that they sent us. Which is maybe, I think, how I'm sure that's how they should have been quoted as, we went with the list that they sent us.
Right.
We didn't follow up to say, hey, where's everybody else on this list? Because also, the thousands of people who have been working on this thing. I mean, if you're the person who's like the localization coordinator for all the different language groups and whatever that have been doing this, and you've been like working your ass off all year to make sure that you're coordinating that all the localizations are getting done and everything's coming in and you're doing whatever, it's like, yeah, you might just be like, send me your staff list and like, here you go. It's like, great, thanks, I'll forward that on to credits. Like, you don't bother checking it, right? You might just be like, cool, they sent it to me, I put it all together, here's about 10 files, they're on the server somewhere, hey, credits team, you gotta go get all that shit and put it in credits.
If I asked for a list of people from you for a thing, and you gave me a list, how would you feel if I came back and went, are you sure this is everybody on the list?
Right.
Because how would I know, right? Like, you're the one who's supposed to know.
Exactly.
I'm not the one with that information. If I had that information, I don't need to get the list from you.
Exactly.
And there's also this thing of like,
That's an excellent point.
your Larian, have your own development process. You're subcontracting all these other bits out to other companies in other countries with other development processes and culture.
Yep.
If that is how that company always credits their stuff,
Right.
now you are imposing a change in their corporate culture
Yeah.
for your thing, which might be a benefit,
Right.
but it's a whole more complicated conversation than the guy who's doing the credits probably wants to handle.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. And it's like, I had no expectation that you would want to know anything extra than what we've already provided to you. And it's like, yeah, I guess why would you, right? And also, I also don't know who at Larian is on the credits team. Like, I don't know who is like the person who's like, I have to ensure that everybody reports in, and then I have to make that, and then I have
If only their name were written somewhere in the game, we could find out.
Right? Like, is the person in charge of the credits maybe just a producer? Like, maybe that's part of their job, is to be like, I got to make sure that everybody is actually properly credited, so I have to amalgamate that list, and I'll pass that off to about 10 other people to make sure that the list comes to me.
Basically, I think it would be the head of every team probably has to be the one to be like, I know who everybody who worked on the thing, because you're the one who's doling out the work, aren't you?
Ultimately, the head of the team lead is the person, or the person who leads, or the head of the department of people who do stuff in like art or whatever. I'm sure they have to be like, oh, I got to coordinate these things.
It should definitely be like, have all the credits and then just have like a huge animated serif thing or a huge animated thing of like in credits designed by
Yeah. I mean, a lot of movies do have the thing where it's like the credit sequence, like who's animated the credit sequence and stuff, but they never put in who gave the names to the credit sequence. And we need that person.
The
credits wrangler.
Do we have this problem with movies? Or like have they solved this problem?
A little bit.
Movies, I think in a lot of movies have solved it to a certain extent, in the sense that the various writers guilds and directors guilds and actors guilds have very specific codified language for how things are credited, which is a lot of the reason why those organizations exist, is to ensure that people are getting the recognition they deserve, because often that's connected directly to their residuals and pay and stuff.
Because like if you go watch older movies, they do a credit list at the top of the show, like, or at the top of the movie or whatever, and it's about 30 seconds long, and it's like slow fade-ins of like, here's the people who played this, here's the director, here's the person who did the music, here's the producer, here's the studio that made it, and it's like, right, the 400 people who worked on this thing at the studio, that's their only credit.
Sure, but that's why I asked, because movies and TV and a lot of those things typically have gone through those things already, whereas video games still seems like it's going through those things.
And I think unions fix that problem, because
it's a bit of a Wild West going on.
Because like if you watch a Marvel movie, like the VFX teams are all fully credited. Like they have to be, because there's 1,000 goddamn names in the VFX teams that show up during any movie that's had VFX done to it, right? But those guys are not unionized yet. They're actually just announced they're going to be voting in a union for Marvel's VFX team, or they're going to try to vote in a union.
As far as I feel like, if you can hunt down everyone who's got a production baby, and like in some cases production pets. I've seen you can go find all the other people who actually did work on your film. know.
And part of that group, the reason why, though, the VFX team gets fully credited the way that they do is because the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild all say, here's how we have to be represented.
Right.
And then the studios are like, unless we want the VFX team to get upset and then actually talk about forming a union, we better just give them the same kind of recognition because it's simpler, right?
All
It's
right.
like a lot of times the unions, that's the reason why there's a 5-day work week, is because the unions stood up and said we want a 5-day work week, and therefore everybody had ended up with a 5-day
Right.
work week,
Okay.
right?
How many unions are in the video gaming industry again?
Very few so
Oh,
far.
they should work on that.
Yeah, it seems like they are.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's entirely possible that I would suspect that there's probably some of the subcontractors involved in movies don't get credited properly.
There's probably that too. Yeah, if you work for maybe a couple days, maybe you get nothing.
But yeah, they're definitely in a better place, and I think a lot of the video game stuff is just kind of whatever they want, which is why it's been a problem. But
And I think
anyway,
a part of that too is that also the video game industry grew up out of a thing that was like didn't have a bunch of people pushing back and forth. It just kind of grew and grew and grew into a thing. And I think that's what makes the crediting thing so haphazard. It's like nobody really knows what the set standard is, which is why it was great that there was that. The industry group, whose name I forget, was saying, "This is, I think, how people have to credit things from now on in video games," and everyone's like, "Okay."
We should really look at that document for our own stuff.
That would
Maybe
be
really
interesting.
consider how we do our own things, because I feel like we could also be better in some of these categories.
it's true. Speaking of being better in a category, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a category. It's a small category. There's only 4 of them.
But there's
5.
There's like a good 24 games.
It's true.
Everyone forgets Venus.
Because she's not in this group
Universe, yeah.
universe. I'm sorry.
She's in the
Just
comic
how it
book
is.
one, isn't she?
I don't know.
She was in the live action.
Oh, was she? Oh, okay.
Well, the TV show anyway.
Anyway, Street Fighter 6 is selling the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costumes, and people are, I think, reasonably annoyed because they're $15 each. $15 Teen Mutant Turtle.
Yeah, so for every single turtle.
Yeah, each turtle is $15.
$60 if you want all of them.
Which they're
Palette swaps.
already palette swaps of each other.
Yeah,
I
really would have thought that would have been here's all of them in one pack.
Yeah.
As opposed to separates.
Also, I forget what. There's another fighting game that came out just recently that had the turtles all 4 turtles as DLC characters.
Oh.
For $10.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Chat, you keep up with video game news, right?
But and we say it's $15. It's very, we're being very it costs 750 fighter bucks or whatever the hell the game currency is.
Obfuscation currency.
And you're able you.
So depending on where you are in the world, I think it can go up to $100 depending on the particular exchange rate in the place you are.
And it's like Chipotle was doing a thing that if you ordered from them online and did delivery, that you would get 250 fighter coin things for as part of your order as a single, and only the first 2,000 people who ordered would get. So it's like there's ways to earn the currency on promotions and stuff, and it's right. So it doesn't have to cost you $500, but it does, and it's every costume is $750. And it's just it's $15.
Currency.
It's just $15.
We call it something else. There's ways to get it, but it's meant to obscure the actual amount of money something is.
Yep.
So people. It turns out you can just make your guy green with a bandana thing.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that was pretty. It really kind of felt like, especially that image we showed where you could see the one with the other. Felt like high-end cosplayer versus closet cosplayer.
Yeah, kinda. Just happened to have a whole bunch of green body paint.
It's also emphasizes how wrong the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with like human proportions.
Yeah, they really do.
Which is why, you know, in the live action things, they had to put so much effort into the costumes and stuff because they look really bad if they don't do it really well, which they have usually done them
They
quite well.
feel really beefy in the live action versions. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I wonder who you got to stand in those things because they seem really wide and stuff. But yeah,
Apparently, they got some very talented martial arts people who almost died.
great.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you would need people who,
It would be very warm.
who would be able to move around.
These days, you have cooling vests.
Yeah, apparently, like
Yeah.
the foam rubber that was made out of, they would just have to be like squeegeed. Like it was so much heavier. It was just nasty. Yeah. All right, what else are we talking about here? The Tetris movie.
Yeah.
This is
We've talked about that a couple times.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
It's
What
yeah.
did they do wrong?
So this is not strictly video game news in the sense that this is movie news. Like, this is about the movie part of the Tetris movie, not the Tetris part.
Okay. What they do? I assume they did something bad.
Well, and it also involves the Tetris company, who are the
Yeah.
people who own Tetris.
So Gizmodo, again, video game news, I guess. Gizmodo editor-in-chief Dan Ackerman wrote a book a while ago.
It's called The Tetris Effect.
Yeah.
2016.
Oh. Was it? Is the video game based off that?
Yeah, it's a novelization of the video game. And
do.
now, I bet somebody's done that, like a flip book of Tetris.
Choose your own adventure, Tetris.
Yeah, put it. Do you go left? Do you go right? Do you flip? Turn to page 5. So the idea is that the story of how Tetris was created or brought to North America and brought to Japan and out of Russia has been told in various ways.
That's true.
Okay.
This guy is not the only person who's written a book about it.
Right.
There's a BBC documentary called Tetris from Russia with Love.
Mm-hmm.
There's a graphic novel called Tetris, the Games People Play. But Ackerman, he's now suing Apple and Tetris and the whatever the company is
producers,
that
I
own,
think, yeah.
whatever the company is that owns Tetris. It's the Tetris company.
It is the Tetris company, yeah.
He's suing them because he's saying that the Tetris movie, sure, it's telling the story that's been told in other places, but the way they're telling it is specifically the way he wrote his book.
Right.
Basically telling it as this
Cold War thriller.
As this thriller, yeah. And also he's saying, and also, because like usually when somebody's making a movie like this, you'll option, different. You'll option a story of it
Right.
to be like it's based on this. We get the rights to it. And I guess because they were, Apple or the producers of the movie were working directly with the Tetris company, they felt they didn't need to do that.
Right.
And in fact, a few years ago when this book, The Tetris Effect, came out, the Tetris company blocked Ackerman from selling the rights to it because they didn't want. They said that they have the rights to the Tetris thing, to the Tetris name and all.
So
this
they
kind of
can
stuff.
they can do what they want with like film and TV rights.
Yeah.
Just get to option your book like that.
Huh.
Options are usually a thing. As I'm learning from reading the article, it's like you would sell an option on a book, and then Hollywood would buy an option on a book because they'd be like, "Oh, this is this is an interesting idea. We want to buy the option to make it into something, and that means that we have a set amount of time that we give you some money. We have a set amount of time to develop it into a film or TV, and if we don't do that, the option can expire, and then you can actually sell that option to somebody else. But of course, what you want to do is you want to sell an option, have it turn into something, so that you can also then get paid for the adaptation and things like that.
Yeah. So the article states that it's the Cold War thriller style, but also there's like scene for scene, a bunch of things, and
he also says that he sent a pre-print version of his book to Maya Rogers, the CEO of the Tetris company.
Right.
The suit alleges, anyway, that the timeline of when this movie started to be developed coincides with after he sent this pre-production copy to the Tetris company.
Right, which, I mean, kind of makes sense because the movie came out in 2022, or was it this year, 2023? So if they worked on it all through COVID, that would still be that it's like, even if they said, we've worked on it all through COVID and it took a long, long time to make, you probably started all that kind of stuff maybe in 2018 or 2019. Like there's probably no way that you said in 2015 we started this process of developing this into this whatever, and then this dude sent us a book and we were like, what do we do about this? But also there's no like claiming that they based the movie on this. Now the hard part is that Ackerman would have to prove that somebody read the book, somebody in the production process read the book, be that the people at the top who said this is how we want to make the thing but don't pay for this, or a writer read the book and was like, those are some good story beats, I'm going to use those in my screenplay, like that kind of thing. It's like you have to start proving that it's like somebody looked at this and said, yeah, this is the way that we want to do it. It's weird, right? Because it's like he might even just have to argue it lends itself so naturally to a Cold War thriller that it's like, it's not like it's not like a unique idea, but it is an idea that multiple people might come up with at the same time, or that I got there first and therefore I own the rights to portray it that way. I don't know. If what we saw was what actually happened in the movie is what actually happened in real life, then how do you say, well, I own the rights to the story beats because those are the story beats?
Yeah.
There are definitely some things that happened in that movie that I highly doubt happened in real life.
There are some representations of some things where it's kind of like, oh, there's no way that happened that way, but
there's that interesting thing. It's almost like the the paper towns or fake roads on maps, right?
Right.
If they did something that isn't real in the same way that he did it, that isn't for dramatic effect, then that is kind of a giveaway.
Exactly. And I mean, and you could always be like, well, why would the Tetris company, like, why would Maya Rogers represent her dad's adventure that way, that kind of idea? Why would she sign off on that? And it's like, maybe because it also works that way better in the movie, and they're like, we know what the story is. We've told the story multiple times. We've told it to multiple people multiple times. So
yeah. I mean, that could be an interesting court case, or it could be just kind of like, okay.
I think he has a legitimate complaint, and I'm interested to see what happens. I don't know if, it kind of feels to me like it's not your story though, right? It's Hank's story and it's Alexei Pajitnov's story. It's not Dan Aykroyd's story.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, is the particular way of telling the story something that is copyright?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of the thing, right? It's either it's like gonna be looked at as kind of like a plagiarism thing, or not. But like, I think if this wasn't a movie that had been made with the Tetris company, then it would be. Then it would definitely be a thing of like, what are you doing? This book exists.
Yeah. I am going to take a quick walk away.
Okay.
I'm going to just move the chair off camera so you don't have to look at it, but I'll be back in a few minutes.
Beach feels very strongly about Tetris. He's got to take a walk and cool down a little bit.
Well, what are we going to talk about while he's gone then?
Wrestling.
Okay.
Well, this is. I mean, this is.
Is in a video game fashion?
Yes.
Oh.
WrestleQuest, which
Is it an RPG? Please tell me this is an RPG.
it's a wrestling RPG. You are
Yay.
entirely correct. Yeah.
Paul told me what I wanted.
It's a pro wrestling themed RPG. And unfortunately, it has been delayed by a couple weeks. Not the end of the world.
Okay.
The only reason why why it's sort of interestingly newsworthy is because it got delayed for 2 weeks, like the day before it was about to come out.
Okay. Okay.
They say, while performing final checks on one of our launch platforms, we discovered that it was possible for players to lose their save game progress on multiple different devices.
Okay. Good reason to delay that.
Because this is a game filled with hours of content and player progress is so important, we could never body slam our fans like that.
Good.
This thing.
Good. Good reason.
Yeah, which is a solid reason. I feel like that's not a reason
Now-
that, like, say, Bethesda or Ubisoft would have delayed a game for.
Can I, as a WrestleMans in WrestleQuest, take on the executives who are probably making way too much money off of me?
I don't know what the actual story.
I just, I'd like to see that.
WrestleQuest unfolds in a world molded after action figure wrestling leagues, with protagonist Randy Muchacho Man Santos on a quest to become the ultimate superstar.
Inspired by classics like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI.
I mean,
America? Or
yeah,
Japan?
I mean,
Take Team, fictional personalities, several real-life stars, including Jeff Jarrett, Jake the Snake Roberts, Sergeant Slaughter.
yeah, I mean, Vince McMahon has a pretty good parallel with Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, exactly. In Final Fantasy VI, you can suplex a train, or you can suplex anything.
Okay, I haven't played that, but now I want to.
There's a character in Final Fantasy VI who has just a move called suplex, where your sprite goes over to the other sprite and goes like grabs it and lifts it and smashes it down.
Holy shit.
But that works no matter what the other. So like big bosses or.
What?
And
Why
there's
is no one telling me about these
And
things?
there's one guy you fight that's a ghost train, and so there's great. The meme is that you can go over and pick up a train.
Can I
and smash
suplex the moon? Do I get to fight the moon? I feel like Final Fantasy is definitely one of those games where somewhere in one of them I get to fight the moon, like the actual moon.
I don't think you have to fight the moon in Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VI.
But any of them, there's like 16 plus many others that are not numbered or have additional numbers.
I'm sure you fight big things in the sky.
But the moon.
Final
I
Fantasy
just
VI
want to
is
fight the moon.
Final Fantasy VI is the suplexing
I want
one, though.
basically like a Majora's Mask style moon to show up and to be able to suplex it. Chat, I know you can find me this information. You're all very smart.
Oh hey, speaking of Netflix, WrestleQuest is going to be out on mobile on Netflix.
See, the moon was evil in 8. I'll just play 8.
There you go.
Wait, no one liked 8, from what I understand.
I think 8 has been somewhat redeemed in people's minds.
8 is fine? Yeah, okay. I think I downloaded 9.
Let's talk about Overwatch 2.
Are they dying still?
There's 2 bits of news for Overwatch 2 that are probably not strictly related, but they both happened at the same time. So there's a new hero, Ilari, who seems cool. She's a she's from Peru. She has she has a large gun.
It seems to be a theme in Overwatch.
Like sun-related powers. she can heal her teammates. She's got a turret that heals her teammates.
Wait, when you say turret, like a gun?
What?
Is she doing what Adam's been doing in long game? Just shooting people with healing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Shooting healing is very common these days.
It just seems so violent.
Yeah, violently healing people. And then this is also coincides with the new big update to Overwatch, which is called Invasion, which is this. We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. So this is they are introducing a new story-driven PvE component. But it is a paid update, which people are a little unhappy about.
Like paid DLC kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like when it comes to Overwatch 2 right now, it's just going to be like, it doesn't really matter what they do. People will be upset.
Well, so yeah, because it basically went, Overwatch 2 is going to have PvE. Overwatch 2 comes out. Overwatch 2 doesn't have PvE now, but we're working on it. We're going to bring it out. Overwatch 2 will not have PvE. In fact, it never really could have had PvE. We were lying about that. Now, we have a new, different, less good PvE, and also you'll have to pay extra for it.
Yeah. Plus, you can't play the game that you liked anymore because we
turned off the servers for that.
I feel like they're kind of in this place where I'm not sure they get redeemed.
Well, funny you should mention that. Because the other thing is that now Blizzard games have historically only been available through Blizzard's own system, their own client that they sold everything through, but now with Overwatch 2. They had a big thing where they were like, Overwatch 2 is going to be available on Steam, which is going to be great because now lots more people can play it.
As a side thing, I forgot that the mic was like here, and you did this thing to your chest, and I was just like, oh no, because that's where the labs go. Overwatch 2 is now available on Steam, which has user reviews. Yep. Know where this is going.
So
overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah. Let's see what it is. Yeah.
What are they at? That's a lot.
That's
54. That's nearly 55,000. That's a lot.
Yeah. Overwhelmingly negative.
That's a lot.
Which is unfortunate. Seeing as how,
Oh, yes, I've heard about this comment. The people who make Overwatch porn work harder than the people who make Overwatch. That's been one I've seen making the rounds.
Anyway. So, yeah, people aren't happy. Also, Beach is back.
Hi.
Hey, Beach.
I decided to put water in my hair.
What's your opinion of Overwatch 2?
I think the people who make Overwatch porn work harder than the people who make Overwatch.
Did you write this?
Right, what?
Are you Conpon?
I sure am not.
I don't think so. That doesn't sound like a standard Beach name.
As far as Overwatch 2 is concerned, it's like, I don't understand why it's like, is it not just Overwatch? It's just Overwatch, and people seem to like that game just fine. And I have a lot of shirts for that I'd like to sell, so I think it's probably fine.
Right, the Get on the Point shirts, right?
Yeah, and the Bullet Sponge shirt.
Right. You can find these over at store.loadingreadyrun.com.
They're on sale, in fact, too, because I have a few too many, and I really would like them to, be gone. But
Celebrate how much you miss Overwatch 1. By wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, they are pay to purchase, but they are free to wear.
Yeah. There you go. Unlike other people's t-shirts, we don't charge you per wearing.
Yeah, every time you put them on, whether it's a Desert Bus shirt or a Loading Ready Run Pride shirt, you guys can just wear
Paul and
whatever
I
you want.
came on Theme Beach just like.
I wore a button down.
Yeah, you look nice today.
Thank you.
So do you, Paul.
Thank you. Oh, hey, there's some more Baldur's Gate 3 news.
I'll move over here again.
Yeah. What they do now? I mean,
This
this
is
game just
not-
came out, so I assume we're gonna hear this game.
Yeah, we're gonna
repeat,
be.
like probably for at least a couple weeks.
Bit of an Elden Ring going thing here.
Or I was gonna say, how much, how many whatever article words were spilt about Tears of the Kingdom.
It's true.
How many different little aspects of it can we? Anyway, this is not so much about what the Baldur's Gate did. This is about what people did with Baldur's Gate. Because
What did people do to Baldur's Gate?
They've released a bunch of stats.
They put a doorbell on it.
Don't you love fun stats?
I do like stats actually.
368 players finished the game in the opening weekend.
That must have been very
This is
satisfying.
a giant RPG.
Yeah, my brain's trying to decide whether or not that's healthy.
88 years combined in character creation.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
Most people take 88 years to live an entire life. Like,
Yeah.
Although, yeah.
Your character creation can be fine.
Although, to be fair, though, that was mostly 50 years on one guy spent 50 years on character
yeah,
creation.
exactly.
He skewed the average.
I do think it's interesting that over 93% of players rolled a custom character, because I'm like, everyone's made such a big deal about the character creator that I would assume that's like, I'm surprised that 7% didn't. They just said,
So-
give me the default, I gotta beat this game this weekend.
Well, or maybe they had like a random option
Oh,
or
could be,
something.
yeah.
Like, it's just like the other stat on there said 10% of people spent over an hour in character creation.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was, I bet Cameron will spend 5.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Paladin was the most popular class. Half elf was the most popular race.
Cleric was the least popular?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Oh, I like clerics.
Yeah, clerics don't get no respect.
Yeah.
Oh, Bard's doing pretty good. I've been listening
I'm a Bard.
to there's one of the podcasters I listened to went with a Bard, so they have like really high charisma stats.
Hell yeah. Githyanki Cleric. That's what I will roll when I finally play.
The
Baldur's
least
Gate.
you want to be the least popular.
Yeah, I don't even know what a Githyanki is.
You're
I
not
don't even
gonna
know if
play
I'm
this
saying it
game.
correctly.
100,000 players have been rejected by Asterion in their romance options.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean he does look like someone who's going to either like just stab you, really.
Yeah.
I would give that to the knife.
He will give you. He's like. Do you want a loving stab or a hateful stab?
Right? One NPC was shoved into a chasm for every concurrent player we had during our peak on Sunday.
I love that. That's a great statistic.
That's an awesome statistic.
It's like Greg the Shoved is the name of the NPC.
12%.
12% of all player deaths were caused by friendly fire.
Nice.
In terms of diplomacy, players veer on the side of good.
Yeah.
There we go. Assaulted Grove versus Saved Grove. I guess that's one of the things.
It's one of the early on things where you, it's like a druid grove and there's some tieflings, I think.
Scratch the dog has been petted over 750,000 times.
I honestly
Jesus.
would have expected that to hit like 1 million for this stat.
He's a
but-
bald spot now.
Oh, that's right. You can basically talk to everyone who's dead if you have the talk to the dead thing.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
10 million hours over 1,225 years spent playing, 88 of which was character creation.
Yes. You can talk to 2.4. They've talked to over 2.4 million animals.
Yeah, you can. What skill is that? I can't remember. I feel like I know
Animal
more about
speech.
this game than I should at this point.
So anyway,
There's an owlbear pet. Beach, I'm gonna need a PS5 in September.
We have PS5 at work.
I don't want to come to work. I get sucked into work things at work.
we have PS4 at home.
Oh no, wait! I'll just do play it forward.
There you go.
Aha! I win.
And it's a traditional turn-based RPG as opposed to the pausable real-time RPG. So it's a little more.
It's supposed to be very D&D like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were all done in real time, but you were supposed to like pause the game, tell everybody what you want them to do, then unpause the game. They would go do it, and then you had to pause the game again, and then tell them the next thing you needed them to do.
Yeah, I think there has been some discussion about Baldur's Gate for Play It Forward, and possibly that it's good, that it might be a little long to do it properly, but we'll see. We'll see.
Some people finished it in a weekend.
Apparently so, yeah.
Don't really want to be one of them. But good for them.
Yeah.
I hope they had fun. I
just-
feel like there's a point where when I'm having fun with video games, and then there's a point where I'm not having fun with video games.
I feel that your method of playing Baldur's Gate 3 might be very interesting because if
I've never played one.
if the end goal for you is to simply get an owlbear pet, the game will then end. Like, it'll be like you'll get to that point, you'll run around with an owlbear pet for like an hour or whatever, and be like, great, I've solved this game and we're done.
The people like, so about that saving the world thing that you were supposed to be doing.
Owlbear pet.
From like, I can't hear you from on top of my owlbear pet.
Yeah.
The snowy owlbear they did in the D&D movie is like one of my favorite things because I do like snowy owls. So just like
Yeah, owlbear percent.
owlbear.
And then finally, it is the 10th anniversary.
Of Sonic?
No, of Papers, Please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Of Arstotzka. Well, I don't know how long the country of Arstotzka has been around.
Or how
but
long it has left.
How long it has left. But it's 10th anniversary of Papers, Please, and in honor of the 10th anniversary, they've developed, put out something called LCD Please, which is a pretty amazing,
Oh, hell.
like Tiger Electronics LCD style version of Papers, Please.
And when is, like, I'm gonna assume Limited Run going to just make this?
I mean, maybe. So, like, the idea is, so, you know, a person walks up. My name is Jan. I'm from United Federation. Papers, Please. And then you pull up paper. And he's like, does this look like how they looked? And see, it says Sarah from United Federation. So they're lying.
Right.
Hit the buzzer.
Deny.
Oh, I like that. That's really good.
But I love that you can see, you know, because it's the
Classic LCD.
you can see like all the things, like they've really spent a lot of effort thinking about like how to do the LCD thing so they can do all these different faces. It's quite neat.
I do like that there's also a that when it starts, it flashes everything on the screen at you.
Different face.
Very different person.
Yep. Deny.
This is really good. Like I am
I wonder sometimes about these kind of games, like if you actually did make a physical version of this and took it back to the 80s or whenever Tiger Electronics games were being sold. Like, would this blow people's mind that it's like so much that it's fancier, or would they be like, eh?
I think this one was correct. I'd like to see what happens when you're wrong, though.
So should we deny him anyway?
Yeah.
Deny. Eh.
Oh no.
you get a mark against you.
Entrant, okay.
-1 penalty. Okay, all right.
It has to have audio, I'm sure, but I can't.
Yeah, we don't have the audio playing.
It's fine.
Androvich. Anyway, see the whole thing. But Anyway, super cool and super fun that that they made that. I remember a few years ago, the Internet Archive released a whole thing that was like a couple dozen of those old style games that in like an online emulator that you could play them on.
Yeah.
Which was good. It was neat because it showed how terrible those games were. They're like, these were never fun. I feel like nobody ever enjoyed these for more than like 5 minutes.
I was talking to Ian about the Game & Watch collection that you can play on Nintendo Switch Online. The Game Boy Advance thing has the Game & Watch collection, I think the first one, maybe the second one, I don't know. But you can play like the Donkey Kong one, which is a 2-screen. That was, Nintendo's first dual screen device.
There you go, yeah.
Was that, and they, you can play it in classic mode or modern mode, and it was very interesting because modern mode is still a thing of like you move from this and then you blink out and blink it to the next one, that kind of thing. But it seemed there's lots more color in the backgrounds and stuff, and there's just something about playing it in the modern mode, and even though it feels like it's like still an LCD, it just really felt like there's more animation and there's more stuff happening, despite the fact that it all very much feels like, oh yeah, but this is just an LCD game. This is just your classic LCD looking thing. I'm like, I know that it isn't somehow, but I can't put my finger on why. So, because the classic one would just be like blip, 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 you go up to the whatever. And yeah, I played it a bit and I was like, man, yeah, this was the height of travel entertainment because you had nothing else to do, so you would play things like this. And I didn't even get to get a Game & Watch when I was young. I had to get one of the like really cheap. I didn't even have a Tiger Electronics game when I was young. My parents were like, here, we picked this up at like a store for it's like $8 or whatever it was, and it's literally a car, and you just move it between the other cars, and you go like left and right, and you just start the thing, you go left to right, and then that's your game, and it's like okay, and then the Game Boy came out, and it was like, forget this thing.
Yeah, I think you would have had a similar thing with like an actual Tiger Electronic toy as well. Mm-hmm. I think.
But I always wanted one.
I think I bought one that was my own. I know I bought something that was basically the Batman logo, and he came with like a Batman you could put on a thing to act like a joystick.
Oh, nice.
But I don't remember how it played or anything. But I had to phone the Sears number to get it out of the Sears catalog.
Wow.
And I had to convince my parents that this was an okay idea for me to spend my money on. And that's hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that I wanted, but my parents convinced me that it was actually a terrible, and they were right.
Yeah.
That it was like it was like, this is not going to be fun. And I'm like, yeah, but I want it. Anyway. That's all the news that I had to mark for things that seemed interesting this week. Thanks everybody for joining us and hanging out, and thanks for supporting us over on Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, and also in all the other ways that you do, whether it is on YouTube or on Twitch or anywhere else. Just
somewhere.
You should go to store.loadingreadyrun.com, see what's on sale, or maybe buy the Middle Earth playmat.
Middle Earth, yeah.
And if you're watching this on YouTube and you've watched to the very end, then in the comments, what was your favorite Tiger Electronics / Game & Watch game?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If you don't know what those are, go look some up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.